Angel Engine has already made a name for itself as one of the most striking analog horror series of the moment. With millions of views per episode, it's a story that's captured the attention and imagination of viewers across the internet thanks to its dark universe, cryptic storytelling, and twisted, deeply disturbing narrative. Each new episode sparks theories, debates, reactions, and for good reason. We're witnessing the birth of a universe that just keeps growing, one that, perhaps not too far from now, might even branch out into other forms of media. And in a way, that's exactly what today's video is about. Just a few days ago, the creator of the series posted something on an Instagram story that immediately caught my attention. Images from a 7-page one-shot manga based on an early concept of the project. A very early version, in fact, one the creator worked on with an artist all the way back in 2023, before Angel Engine even existed as the series we know today. This manga is essentially a prototype, a seed of what would later grow into the series we're now following so closely. And sure, some of the ideas in it may have changed, evolved, or even been discarded in the final version we see unfold episode by episode. But even so, this one-shot adds new layers of meaning, expands the lore, and even answers questions many of us have been asking since episode 1. That's why I think it's absolutely worth breaking it down, page by page. Before we dive in, I want to take a moment to thank everyone who responded to the pinned comment in the last video, and for the incredible support you always give me. Remember, if you'd like to be featured in the next video, make sure to reply to the pinned comment where you'll find this question. What would you like to see first for Angel Engine? A full manga, an animated series, or a video game? Without further ado, don't forget to leave your precious like and subscribe to help the channel grow and reach more people. Every like is one more coin to escape poverty. If you're unsure what to comment, just type meow in the comments section and I'll give you a heart in return. Comments are incredibly important and help the video a lot, so don't forget to leave yours. And of course, check out my second channel too. I just dropped a new video over there a few days ago. You know what to do. Welcome to the lost manga of Angel Engine. Over the years, it became painfully clear that humanity's existence on Earth had brought nothing but suffering and devastation. The natural world was ravaged, and everything that was once pure had been tainted, corrupted beyond recognition. Mankind had fallen from grace in the eyes of God, and so a decision was made, a final judgment, the total extinction of the human race. Their eradication seemed inevitable, written in stone. Among the countless ranks of heaven, not a single voice rose to challenge the will of the Almighty, perhaps out of fear, or perhaps because they all agreed. All except one. One angel, moved by compassion, stepped forward. He dared to oppose the divine sentence and offered to intercede on humanity's behalf. Because of his plea, mankind was granted one final chance. That angel, known to us now as Uriel, descended to Earth with a single purpose: to prove there was still something in us worth saving. He came down with the intention of guiding humanity, to help them see reason and lead them back to the righteous path. And against all odds, a miracle happened. The planet began to heal. The Earth slowly reclaimed its beauty, and for a fleeting moment, it seemed as though God's wrath had been soothed. But hidden beneath that miracle was a terrible darkness. Because humanity didn't respond with gratitude, they answered with betrayal. They captured the angel, imprisoned him, and began to experiment on his body. They discovered he had the ability to perform miracles, and so they connected him to a machine they called the Angel Engine. Uriel was twisted into an abomination. The miracles that healed the earth were not born from repentance, nor from collective effort. They came from suffering, from the agony of a celestial being in chains. And in the midst of that torment, one question echoed endlessly in the angel's mind. Oh, Father, do you truly not see what they've done to me? Or do you simply not care? Alright, there's a lot to unpack here. The manga opens in a way that closely mirrors the main series. A bleak vision of Earth, depicted through 3 panels showing its gradual descent into ruin. A powerful visual depiction of the destruction caused by humanity. And that's where we get one of the manga's most shocking revelations. Heaven was fully prepared to wipe out humanity without a second thought. Our very existence had become a source of pain and suffering, something that could no longer be tolerated. But there was still one angel left, an angel whose love for humanity ran so deep he dared to defy God's judgment. Uriel still believed we could change, that not all was lost, and he was willing to descend into the mortal world to help us. God, seeing Uriel's determination, granted one final chance, but not to us, who were already seen as a plague. The chance was given to him, a chance to prove there was still something in us worth saving, a final opportunity to redeem a species that had long since lost its way. But, as we already knew from the beginning, things would not end well for our would-be savior. The earth began to heal. The world blossomed thanks to Uriel's power, but that power was being harvested against his will, ripped from him, extracted through tubes and wires embedded deep within his now fragile body. Uriel had been captured. He was sealed inside a machine, or rather, a prison built solely for him. The angel engine. And then we see him. His face, a gaze filled with rage, helplessness, and an unfathomable sorrow. Uriel feels abandoned, betrayed, not just by humanity, the very humanity he once loved and fought so hard to protect, but by his own father and his brothers. Because while he suffers, heaven remains silent, as if none of it matters. Many of you have raised the same questions in the comments. Where is God? Where are the other angels? Why has no one come to save Uriel? And the answer, harsh and heartbreaking, is laid bare in this early, primitive manga. Though God gave him his blessing, Uriel opposed heaven's decree from the very beginning. He went against divine will, and now that everything has gone wrong, heaven does nothing. Because, from their perspective, Uriel must face the consequences of his own actions. He was the one who broke the order. He was the one who chose to give himself to a species that heaven already knew would betray him. And the most tragic part of all, God knew this would happen. And still, he allowed it. The panel you're seeing now is a direct visual reference to Alexander Cabanel's iconic depiction of Lucifer. And that's no coincidence, because the manga begins to draw a tragic parallel between Uriel and Lucifer. Two acts of rebellion, two different motives, the same ending. Both Lucifer and Uriel share the exact same look in their eyes, a look that speaks of pain, anger, betrayal, and abandonment. In Lucifer's case, it's the gaze of an angel cast out of heaven for his pride, for daring to challenge God's throne. But that look carries more than just defiance. It speaks of something deeper, the anguish of having once belonged to something eternal, only to be torn away from it forever. It's the expression of a being who didn't see himself as a villain, but as someone fighting for what he believed was right. Someone who, in his own mind, stood for truth, for identity, for dignity, even if it meant going against the divine order. And yet, when the rebellion failed, he was met with total rejection. No forgiveness, no redemption, only exile. In that moment, his pride turned into pain, his certainty into bitterness, and his glory into isolation. That is the look Cabanel painted, not of a raging monster, but of a fallen son who now understands the weight of what he's lost, and who feels utterly abandoned, even by the father he once loved. But how did it come to this? What could drive such a being to turn against the very source of his light? Before the fall, Lucifer was said to be the most radiant of all angels, a bearer of light, a reflection of God's glory. He wasn't just powerful, he was admired, beloved, even revered among the heavenly host. And yet, something within him changed. Some say it was pride, that Lucifer looked upon his own beauty and brilliance and began to believe it rivaled that of the Creator. Others say it was jealousy, that when God created humanity and asked the angels to bow before these fragile beings of dust, Lucifer refused. But whatever the reason, one truth remains. Lucifer chose to rebel. He raised his voice against God. He defied the divine order. And in doing so, he tore himself away from everything he once was. Did he truly think he could win? Perhaps not. Perhaps even he knew that no one could ever overcome the Almighty. But pride has a way of blinding even the brightest minds. And Lucifer, in his defiance, believed that he would rather fall with dignity than serve in silence. There was war in heaven. The archangel Michael led the forces of light, and Lucifer was cast down, along with a third of the angels who followed him, banished, exiled, sent into the darkness, into the abyss that would become his kingdom. And it's there, in that eternal exile, where we find him in Cabanel's painting, a being who once stood in the light and now stares into the void. His gaze is not one of hatred alone, it's the look of someone who lost everything. Lucifer fell because of pride, but in that fall we see something else, the pain of being separated from the divine, the agony of knowing that no matter how brightly he once shined, he can never go back. Uriel's case is different. He wasn't banished, but he was left alone. Yes, he disobeyed at first, but he was allowed to act freely, to try and save us. But if anything went wrong, he would be on his own. And in the end, there's one thing they both undeniably share. They descended into hell. As I mentioned in my last video, this is a world forsaken by God. That would explain why the Antichrist was able to appear here in the first place. If he managed to get rid of Uriel, and with God already off the board, there would be no one left to stop him. And that's exactly what happened. Lucifer fell because of pride. Uriel fell because of love. But both were forsaken by heaven. Maybe sin isn't the only thing that can drive you away from God. Maybe even the purest sacrifice can condemn you to the same hell as arrogance. And in their eyes, there may no longer be a difference. Honestly, I absolutely loved working on this video, and I think I speak for many of us when I say, I really hope we get to see a continuation of this manga someday. Sure, this video was a bit shorter than usual, and it's likely that some of the ideas we've seen here were eventually scrapped from the final version of the series. But let's be real, every minute was worth it. One thing that really stood out to me is a key difference between the manga and the series. In the series, unlike what we see here, we never actually get to witness Uriel truly angry or disappointed. There's no trace of that furious glare or that silent cry of abandonment that the manga conveys so powerfully. Maybe that was cut from the final draft. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments. You know I love reading them. If you want more videos like this, don't forget to support this one as much as possible and share it with as many people as you can. Also, make sure to follow me on my other social media platforms where I post exclusive short-form content you won't find on YouTube. And most importantly, a huge shout out to all the channel members. Seriously, thank you so much. If you'd like to become a member, just click the join button next to the subscribe button to unlock tons of perks and exclusive emojis while supporting me. If you're interested, join in. I'll be forever grateful. And remember, this video was made by a cat and cats can't talk. Thanks for watching. Take care and see you soon.